stopped and spoke a bit there, but we only have half an hour for each person, so it's going to be difficult to hear all the music, but terrific. Just when you played this with quite a lot of good rhythm, but why not the same at the beginning? It's the same rhythmic motive. So find the tension in these rests. Feel that air between the notes. It will almost never be too late. It will almost always be too early. And I like to think of this as an up bow. And so that so we don't feel that the first one is the downbeat. It's up, down. It's very, very useful sometimes to think of string instruments, particularly and in fact we'll probably talk about this later with the Beethoven in classical repertoire, where very often it's like a string quartet, the writing, and sometimes thinking of how would I bow this, even if you don't play a string instrument. It can sometimes help to shape phrasing. And I think this is an example. And enjoy much more the drama of this. You know, this is an improvisation, this beginning, isn't it? You know, Liszt is going to do variations on this theme. So how does he begin? He's just improvising. He's making these arpeggios. So it should never feel predictable. It should always feel like it could go in any direction. And of course, he would never have played it the same every time. So we probably need to play the same notes. Now, it's 200 years later, but we should never have our rubato all set out. So if I ask you on Thursday morning or Tuesday afternoon, you played exactly the same rubato with it must feel like it's being created. So let's just start at the beginning and just think of those rests. Find energy in the rest. And even sound, I think if I see it, it's kind of, can you play it as if you're striking a great gong? And actually, I know there's a pedal here, and it's probably from Liszt, but I think we're talking about pianos with a lot less resonance. Liszt was always struggling against pianos and always wanted them to be more brilliant, more resonant. And I think he just writes pedal here because it's the only way to get a small instrument with no iron frame to sound anything like the fortissimo that he wants. I think that the gesture here, to me, I think it needs air before. And even that resolution, energy in there. Once more. Early, does it? If you're going to go 1, 2, 3, hold on to that in there. Enjoy the rumble there. Yeah, there's no rush. I'm trying to be picky, but that's not early. Yum. Yeah, good. Find a way so that this arpeggio, the whole thing is not just an arpeggio and then another chord, but I haven't played this piece in years, I'm sorry. So that you get the whole arpeggio is. Now try not to stop before this second chord. Maybe there's a way of fingering it. Why don't you end up on a thumb in the left hand so that you're already there? I suggest if you've on 2, you're going to have a break before this chord because you can't get down there in time. If you end on a thumb, your fifth thing is already there. So, but just so that the whole thing is one gesture rather than 2 gestures. Yeah, the tremolo doesn't have to be loud. It shouldn't be louder than the theme. But even be soft, it's just a rumble. We've got a long way to go. But try and be careful, because on our juicy, wonderful Steinways, there's a lot of resonance in these strings and less resonance here. Just try and match those a little bit. it before too. I mean, if anything, they should get longer as it becomes more dramatic and as these harmonies, become more intense. Just try from this diminished augmented chord. And I hold, and then I would add the extra B flat. Real, those carrots on those notes. But actually, the two 16ths, it's kind of nice if there's a different. He's sort of made a difference there. I mean, it doesn't have to be metronomic, but I think it's part of the writ and the rinforzando. Top and the bottom notes. It's almost great. The left hand, it's great that you're giving us this line, because that's really very important, so that we don't have too much thumbs. Everything is centered on the last two fingers. Yeah, let's go. We can carry on now from here. Because I think it's part of the same fabric. It's not a new start, I think, with this. 2, 3. Great. Oh, that's too short, though. Yeah, that D sharp. 2, 3. Trombones, but very soft. Soft, but somehow good trombonists. Aspen Chamber Orchestra trombonists really make those, take great care. Oops, I'm losing my microphone here. Instruments that don't have a lot to play in an orchestra. When they do play, they play really, in a great orchestra, they play fantastically well. Like if the piccolo player, or I don't know, sometimes a percussionist has almost nothing to do, and then there's one stroke, and it's done with such care. So let's incorporate that. We're many instruments as a pianist, and this piece has a number of moments. We'll come to those a bit later. It's just from where the trombones come in. Great. Electric. 2, 3. Before you do. And I think it's good to have, it's not double dotted, but think fives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, just so that it has a bit more spring to it. So that we land on our high point at the esposito there. Yeah, should be short. Think of the up, it's still the up bow and the down bow. The freedom that you take with this. Be careful with this. Even if they're free between the hands, which is great and very authentic, that we still feel something of the pulse. But when we get to here, I think we need here in this bar to be thinking of the next, rather than idea and then a new idea. It's organic. Can we just go from the final one? Left hand, I mean, literally as it's written, so that the left hand's short and the right hand's not. Sorry. I quite like that shorter thing. Begins, so it doesn't get swallowed up as the phrases change. As you get into the thicker strings, just a little bit here. So we actually you can use a sort of, a quarter pedal or something, but I talked about this a lot in maybe even here before, but it's really important to learn how to isolate different levels of the pedal, so that it's not just a matter of stabbing at it, but we really choose where we use it. I know Rosina Levine spoke about 6 levels, and maybe there are more or less, I don't know, but certainly between having it all the way on and that kind of level gives you some resonance without all the strings being fully. So when you get right down to here, you've still got, it's not dry, but you have clarity as well. And it's really important in Impressionist music, and actually also in Chopin, when you want to make a modern Steinway sound more like a play-owl, which is difficult to do sometimes. But here, yeah, just thin, lift the level of the pedal a little bit. But now here there is something new, isn't there? Now here, what I'm hearing is fortissimo in all the different, the 3 voices going on here, and I'm hearing them all the same, like you're playing it on a manual of the organ, and there's no differentiation. But I mean, to me, this is the principal voice. is the second voice, and they have to be 3 different dynamic levels. I mean, this is the challenge for, we can do it, you see, on the piano. Most instruments can't do all this polyphony. They're stuck with one line, but we can. So this is really a very orchestral moment. Let's just try it slowly. Will you choose? I mean, this is obviously voice number 1, the theme, but which do you think you would rather bring out between those other 2 voices? Yeah? And can we also get yeah? I'm asking for a lot. Should we try it? Just slowly. It has to be. In fact, the latest edition has the B sharp in brackets. It has to be a misprint because it's the only time, and how many variations are there? It can't be. It makes me cringe because it just isn't. It wouldn't be a part of that. Certainly not of the original thing. Anyway, that's great. What you might find helpful in the left hand is just lighten the thumb, because what we don't want to hear is getting in the way. We want it, sorry, the lower voices. So just weight it towards this part of the hand and lighten the thumb so that it doesn't clash with the tune. And you might want to start it pedal around a sort of level 3 or 4 and add more as you get higher up. So that pedal is literally going like that each time, just a little. You're using it like the pedal on an organ, where you actually increase the volume. The pedal is such a great tool. And also, don't release the pedal now. Not on the chord, but just after the chord. So that at that point you'll have all this resonance giving that chord even more brilliance. Because if you come off and cut it off, you lose what's going on. Just try it very, very slowly for me now. Off. No, you're repedaling before. I can see that beautiful shoe going up and down. You shouldn't wear shiny shoes if you don't want me to see your pedal. Okay, let's just try it once more. No, you're doing it. It's a reflex.
So, I don't.
Not at all.
Yes.
You keep it the pedal. So you start here, level sort of 3 or 4, more off. Yeah. All the time, especially in concertos when you really do need power because you're trying to overcome the orchestra. The pedal is your greatest ally for playing with an orchestra because it gives you resonance, and so often, especially if you're playing the same thing as the orchestra, like the end of the Tchaikovsky first, end of Rachmaninoff third, you don't need to re-pedal at all. In fact, Rachmaninoff third from the third page from the end with the beginning of the D major theme, once it gets up to this part of the piano, I leave it down for about 30 bars without any change, because there are no dampers at the top anyway, so that doesn't make any difference. And because the orchestra's playing it with the changes of harmony, you don't hear the piano is blurred. What you do hear is just a lot of power. So this is a tiny example of using the pedal for power, is not releasing it on the note. And you'll find other examples when that will be helpful. I mean, especially in romantic music, this is all romantic technical things, it's not appropriate, obviously, in classical repertoire. Well, I think we're going to have to finish. Have you ever tried this Liszt fingering of the? Is it? Three fives.
I just feel uncomfortable with the thumb on the black key.
Yeah, but it's very useful to have that fingering. I mean, why don't you try practicing? In fact, in contra motion. All the scales with fives. It's very useful to have that fingering. And even it's quite a good warm-up exercise. It's quite useful to have that fingering of fives because there are certain examples. I'm thinking of Saint-Saëns. There are some wonderful moments in that when using fives. It's fantastic because you can double the speed. Because if you're using the thumb every 3 notes or every 5 notes, well, it's not double, but it's almost. You've got much more flow. So I would really recommend it, because I noticed in the first 3 that you didn't quite play all the notes. And I understand that, but I think you'll find it would just practice where the join is, so that you get used to the hand moving around. Because we do need to use our thumb on the black notes. Someone once said to me, actually, because it's obviously completely impossible to play it. Someone in a concert came backstage and said, I was puzzled. He said, you did use your thumb on the black notes, didn't you, sometime? And I was thinking, well, yes, how do you play an octave in G sharp without using the thumb on the black notes? But anyway, that's something else. Yeah? I thought you did it. It was great, actually. I thought you could characterize these sort of. It's almost like Mahler in a way. These kind of country horn sort of things. I thought you could do a little bit more with those. I mean, I'd love to work more, but obviously we're running out of time. But no, I thought this section on the whole worked really beautifully. So fantastic. Very nice to hear you play. Thank you.